My mother-in-law moved into our house after paralysis. She claimed our master bedroom, unaware of the impact and consequences. I'm Kimberly, I said, a nervous tremor in my voice. I'm 29 years old. You'll never be as important as me, Melissa, Larry's mother, spat, her eyes narrowed. He'll always choose me over you. Don't expect anything else from him. Her words hit me like a slap. It was our first meeting, and she was already launching into a tirade against me. I felt a wave of embarrassment wash over me. You're worthless, she continued, her voice dripping with disdain. I don't know how my son could choose a girl like you. No one deserves my baby. He's just mine. Larry is the best kid ever and loves his mom. You're just a temporary person in his life. I know he is your favorite son, Melissa. I tried to reason, my voice shaking. I also know that he loves you a lot. You are his mother, after all. I'm not trying to replace you. I just want to be his partner, a good girlfriend. You don't have to see me as a competition. You can never be my competition, she sneered, lips curling into a cruel smile. Besides, you're only here for a while, so don't get carried away. He'll dump you sooner than later. Melissa's unabashed rudeness shocked me. Larry, my then-boyfriend, was nothing like her. He was kind and caring and always put others before himself. It was like they were from different planets. The whole interaction hurt like hell. I would never ask Larry to choose me over his mom, I said, my voice catching in my throat. I lost my parents when I was young, so I know how important parents are. Larry has always been a loving partner to me. I know he holds his mother in high regard. His father, Billy, divorced Melissa when they were kids, Larry had told me once. He never knew the reason for the divorce, but he did hold some resentment towards Billy. They have a relationship, but Larry prefers his mother over everyone else. He thinks his mother sacrificed a lot to raise him. I, too, held Melissa in high regard, based on the stories Larry told me. She sounds like a great person, Larry, I'd said, trying to sound enthusiastic. Especially since you talk so highly of her. She also raised such a fine man like you. She's a little dependent on me, Larry had admitted, a hint of sadness in his voice. But that's because she never married again. You know, she spends a lot of time taking care of us. Mom never had the time to date, so she expects a lot of emotional support from her kids. She sounds like a great person, Larry, I'd said, trying to sound enthusiastic. Especially since you talk so highly of her. She also raised such a fine man like you. She's a little dependent on me, Larry had admitted, a hint of sadness in his voice. But that's because she never married again. You know, she spends a lot of time taking care of us. Mom never had the time to date, so she expects a lot of emotional support from her kids. See, at least you consider that, I said, trying to lighten the mood. I don't know why no one else could tolerate her. We gotta be a little compassionate, you know? I can't just leave her like Dad did, Larry. I'm sure they had their reasons, I said, trying to sound understanding. But you were right. You can't just drop your mom off for anyone. It turned out I was one of those girls in the future. I would hate his mother and make things difficult for him. Larry's siblings, Scott and Catherine, tried to warn me. Kimberly, I know you've met our mother, Scott said, his voice gentle but firm. You don't have to pretend to like her. We don't worship her as Larry does. He can be a little too naive when it comes to Mom. Yeah, I mean, Mom did raise us, Catherine added, a hint of weariness in her voice. But she wasn't exactly a star parent, although Larry might think otherwise. I tried to reassure them, but I knew they were right. Melissa didn't like me. She was firm in her judgment. I'm sorry you had to go through that, Catherine said, her voice filled with sympathy. I just hope she didn't say anything overly hurtful. Look, I don't know if Larry told you, but she's always been this way towards his girlfriends, Scott explained. She has a habit of chasing them away. Mom just can't take it when Larry and I give attention to someone other than her. She thinks just because she chose not to date, she's entitled to our time and attention. Kimberly, we like you, Catherine said, her voice warm. So take this as a warning. Larry can be very dense when it comes to Mom. He takes her side most of the time. We know it has cost him many relationships. Don't let Mom win this time. You're perfect for Larry. I don't know, guys, I said, feeling overwhelmed. It feels very weird to compete with his mother. I don't have my parents anymore, so I feel bad for Melissa. I don't want to take Larry away from her, believe me. Kimberly, he needs to be away from her, Scott said, his voice firm. Otherwise, he'll never be happy. Scott and Catherine gave me some good insight into what my relationship with Larry would become. It was true that Larry spent a lot of time with his mother. He even often canceled dates to be with her. Melissa also called him over whenever there was any minor inconvenience. She never worked and was still getting alimony from Billy. I did meet Billy a long time after I met Melissa and the siblings. Billy seemed to be more like Larry and the siblings. It was easy to see why he had to divorce Melissa. I never had a problem with Larry canceling dates for Melissa. I would make exceptions when she generally had an emergency. However, his constant catering to Melissa wore me down. Scott and Catherine's words kept ringing in my head. I knew it was time to sit down and have a conversation with Larry. "Larry," I said, my voice soft but firm, "I like that you take care of your mother so much, but you're starting to neglect me a lot this month. You have canceled all our dates just to be with her. It's getting annoying, you know." "Mom relies on me a lot," Larry said, his voice tinged with guilt. "Scott and Catherine don't bother to visit anymore, so I'm the only one who has to help." Hey, pause for a moment. Would you care to support us? Like this video and subscribe for more? Now, let's dive back into the story. "I can understand if she needs your help or if there's an emergency," I said, trying to be understanding. "But you've canceled our dates for no reason. You don't have to run to her when she is slightly bored." "Well, she's my mom," Larry said, his voice defensive. "And she doesn't have anyone else. Do you expect me to drop her when I'm with you?" "I'm not saying that, Larry," I said, my voice rising in frustration. "I just want you to start thinking about which visits are important and which are not." No matter how much I tried to make him understand, Larry never agreed with my reasoning. However, he did promise to make it up to me. I was pretty miffed, but didn't complain because he was trying his best. Slowly, I was starting to realize why none of his exes liked Melissa. She was unbearable. Every time I was with Larry, she would try to get his attention. When she realized I was more permanent than she thought, she started to become more demanding. It all came to a head when Larry proposed to me. I said yes because I loved this man. He was the man of my dreams, exactly everything I wanted. Both Larry and I were over the moon. We decided to invite his family for dinner so that we could announce our engagement. Larry happily called his family and asked them to come over. Billy was the first one who came. He was super excited for us and gave us his heartiest congratulations. Scott and Catherine also came early and were extremely excited for the wedding. But when Melissa walked in and saw the ring on my finger, she just flipped. "Larry, am I seeing things?" she asked, her voice sharp with disbelief. "Did you propose to her?" "Yes, Mom," Larry said, his voice calm. "I popped the question yesterday. She said yes. I asked everyone to dinner to announce the engagement." "You have to be kidding me," Melissa said, her voice rising. "What is wrong with you, Larry? You were too young to settle down with whoever you found on the street. You didn't even consult me before asking her." "Mom, what are you saying?" Larry asked, his voice strained. "You always knew I was going to propose to her, but I never permitted you. How dare you propose without asking me?" "Why did you spend so much money on the ring?" Melissa demanded, her voice laced with venom. "This stupid girl doesn't deserve anything so expensive." "Kimberly, are you happy now that you have taken away my boy?" Melissa asked, her eyes burning with anger. "Melissa, what are you saying?" I said, my voice trembling. "You should be happy for us. We love each other. You are my family as well now." "Melissa, calm down," Scott said, trying to soothe the situation. "It's natural Larry would settle down with Kimberly. She is a great girlfriend. We all knew the engagement was coming." Stop making a scene," Catherine added, her voice exasperated. "This is ridiculous. Larry doesn't need your permission to marry. He's old enough to make his own decisions." Melissa just wouldn't listen to anyone. She kept screaming at us and calling us names. Some of the things she said about me were downright nasty. I just can't repeat them here. Larry was pretty stunned throughout the whole debacle. He didn't say much either. It was just Melissa screaming while the rest of us tried to calm her down. After a while of screaming and crying at us, Melissa left. The rest of us decided to sit for dinner so that the food was well spent. Before everyone left, Catherine pulled me aside. "Kimberly, I think it's time you set some boundaries with Mom," she said, her voice serious. "She called you horrible things in front of us. Larry needs to learn to stand up for you." "I know, Catherine," I said, my voice tired. "I think I had enough. I tried so hard to make her like me. I won't do that anymore. She has disrespected me a lot today. I won't put up with this anymore. I hope Larry understands." "Hold your ground," Catherine said, giving me a reassuring squeeze on the shoulder. "If he loves you and wants you, he'll listen." With that, the group left me and Larry in our rented home. After cleaning up everything, I signaled Larry to the living room. It was time to put some boundaries between us and Melissa. I sat him down and said, "Melissa has been horrible to us today. I think we can agree to that. She overreacted a little. I guess I shouldn't have sprung this on her." "Now, Larry, you are a grown man and don't have to discuss these things with your mom," I said, my voice rising in frustration. "Why are you still defending her? Didn't you hear what she said about me? Are you okay with that?" "Of course not, Kimberly," Larry said, his voice low. "I'm not okay with that, but it's just that she's never behaved this way before." "Oh, trust me, Larry," I said, my voice shaking with anger. "She has done this before. Every time you were away, Melissa used to berate me and call me names. She's obsessed with you. Can't you see that?" "What are you saying, Kimberly?" Larry asked, his voice confused. "My mom has been talking about you all this while. Why didn't you tell me before?" "That's because you have a habit of defending her every time," I said, my voice filled with disappointment. "Look, I know she is your mom and you want her in your life, but I'm going to have low contact with her. You need to rethink your actions and stop catering to her demands all the time." We discussed the problems with Melissa, and Larry agreed to put up boundaries. I was happy that finally he was starting to see through Melissa's toxic ways. However, he still held her dear and refused to berate her for anything. Thankfully, he went over to talk to Melissa and told her to stay away from me. The wedding planning was equally exhausting, with Melissa creating trouble. She even went as far as to change the decorations and try to cancel the venue. My maid of honor had the foresight to install passwords so that only Larry and I could make the changes. When we were informed about Melissa's meddling, I was furious. However, Larry tried to play it down and promised to handle Melissa on his own. Things were pretty tense between us as well. Melissa lost it when she found out we bought a house together. Me and Larry found our dream house, and Billy offered to help with the down payment. We bought it immediately and put both our names on it. Melissa didn't like this at all. She even called Larry and berated him for ignoring her wishes and getting a house with me. Melissa wanted Larry to live with her once her lease was up. She also didn't want him to spend money on a house with me. Hey, pause for a moment. Would you care to support us? Like this video and subscribe for more. Now, let's dive back into the story. The wedding itself was uneventful since Larry gave Melissa a stern talking to. My bridesmaids and maid of honor also kept an eye on her so that she couldn't mess things up. However, things went south when we went on our honeymoon. One night, we got a call from Melissa. "Larry, I have been in an accident," she said, her voice trembling. "I'm at the hospital. The doctors are saying that I have become paralyzed. I need you right now." "What? Where are you, Mom?" Larry asked, his voice laced with panic. "Tell me the name of the hospital. We will come back immediately." "You should have called me sooner," Melissa said, her voice laced with guilt. "I didn't want to spoil a honeymoon. I knew Kimberly would not let you come back. Don't worry, I will get discharged tomorrow, but how I manage on my own? I can't even move. There's no one to take care of me." "Don't worry, Mom," Larry said, his voice soothing. "You can stay with us. I'll take care of you. I'm sure Kimberly is okay with this. I'll come to get you when I return. Take care of yourself." Larry quickly called up his siblings and Billy as well. However, they were pretty confused by the whole deal. They didn't even know Melissa had an accident. When they called her up, she forbade them from visiting her in the hospital. Larry was pissed and said that Melissa was mad at everyone for abandoning her. He also felt bad for neglecting her last year, so he unanimously decided to end our honeymoon there. There was nothing I could do. When we went back, Melissa was already back at her house. She was in a wheelchair and started to cry when she saw Larry. Larry assured her that he would never abandon her again. This time, he never even asked me anything. Melissa also kept giving me weird looks and making snide comments about how I couldn't keep Larry away from her. I stayed quiet because there was no point in attacking her when she was hurt. One thing was bothering me. Melissa never showed us any medical documents or doctor's notes. She even refused to say which hospital she had been to. Larry ignored those red flags and simply told me to leave her alone. When we took her to our house, Melissa said, "You seriously can't think about putting me in a guest room? It would be so uncomfortable. It would be better if I got the master bedroom. Your room is so much bigger and has all my needs. I'm so sick right now. I need comfort." "Of course, Mom," Larry said, his voice filled with concern. "If you think the master bedroom will be better, you can stay there. We won't mind. I just want you to be comfortable right now." "Thank you so much, Larry," Melissa said, her voice dripping with gratitude. "I hope Kimberly is not mad at me. You guys didn't even get to enjoy your new room first. I can stay in the guest room if she wants. Who cares if I'm uncomfortable? You can stay in the master bedroom, Melissa," I said, my voice calm. I never objected to it. Melissa just looked at me and smirked. She was enjoying the fact that Larry was paying attention to her. Larry never discussed anything with me before giving in to his mother's demands. He kept blaming himself for not being there for her. Scott and Catherine were also very weirded out by the situation. Everything seemed too suspicious for us. I left it alone because I didn't want Larry to get the wrong idea. Things went pretty much downhill after that. Melissa monopolized Larry's time after coming home from work. She called him to her room and kept him there till dinner. Even at dinner, Melissa insisted Larry eat with her. I was left to eat alone in the kitchen. It was like Larry never had time for me. Melissa also ordered me around when I was home. If I told her no, she would call Larry and cry to him. Larry and I have often gotten into arguments because he wanted me to do more. However, I was starting to hit rock bottom with him. My suspicions about Melissa's health never went away, so I decided to keep an eye on her. One thing that Melissa never knew was that we had cameras in the master bedroom. It was in place so we could keep track of things if they went missing. Neither I nor Larry told her about it. One day when I was in the office, I decided to look at the recorded videos. Lo and behold, it was Melissa walking perfectly fine and looking through all the drawers and cabinets in my room. Guys, I was shocked. Sure, I had my suspicions, but I didn't know Melissa would do something like this. After finding the truth, I decided to wait before confronting her. Larry and I were still arguing and didn't want to piss him off anymore, so I was biding my time and waiting for the right moment. The perfect time was just about to come. About 4 months after Melissa moved in, she told us that we needed to talk. We went to her room and waited for her to begin. "You guys know that I've been going to the doctor with my friend today," she said, her voice trembling. "The doctor said that he can fix me, but it would take a lot of money to do it." "That's great news, Mom," Larry said, his voice filled with hope. "I'm sure this treatment will help you get better." "Yes, but you know I don't have that much money," Melissa said, her voice pleading. "So I was wondering if you can help me out." "We will be happy to help, Melissa," Larry said, his voice hesitant, "but we don't have that much money lying around." "Don't be selfish, Kimberly," Melissa said, her voice laced with bitterness. "You have this house. If you sell it now, the money will be enough for the treatment. You can just move in with me and stay there after that." "Mom, it's a big decision to make," Larry said, his voice strained. "We want you to get better, but I can't believe this. My son doesn't want to help me?" "Okay, then go ahead and kick me out," Melissa said, her voice breaking. "I would rather die in the street than stay here any longer." "Mom, don't say that," Larry said, his voice filled with despair. "We'll figure something out. Just give me time." "No, just sell this damn house," Melissa said, her voice rising in anger. "You don't need such a big house anyway. Kimberly doesn't get to live in a big house while I ride away in a small one. Sell the house and give me the money." "Mom, calm down," Larry said, his voice pleading. "We will find a way. Just let me think about it." Melissa just kept accusing Larry of not loving her. She was so intense that Larry was on the verge of tears. He was almost ready to sell the house for her. That's when I decided it was enough. "Stop it, Melissa," I said, my voice firm. "Why are you pressuring him like this? I know you're not sick at all. Your paralysis is a lie. Stop this nonsense now. We are not selling the house for you." "Oh my, Kimberly, what is wrong with you?" Melissa said, her voice dripping with sarcasm. "Why would you say something like that? Come here." "She wants to call me a liar," Melissa said, her voice filled with anger. "That's because you are one, Larry. I know you think I am insane, but Melissa has been lying to us. Do you remember the cameras we had in the master bedroom?" "Yes," Larry said, his voice confused. "What about them?" I asked, my voice steady. "I accessed them a few days back," I said, my voice calm. "Melissa's just fine. She's acting like she's paralyzed. Here's a compiled video of her moving around just fine." I gave Larry my phone to see the evidence. Melissa went white as a ghost. She was trying to prevent Larry from seeing the video. She knew I had caught her in the act. After watching the video carefully, Larry said, "What the hell is this, Mom? You were acting all this time. Why would you do that?" "It's not my fault, Larry," Melissa said, her voice cracking. "You have been drifting away from me. There was nothing else I could do. Kimberly doesn't deserve all the money and attention you give her. I should be a priority, not her." "Of course Kimberly is my priority," Larry said, his voice firm. "She's my freaking wife. I would always be there for you when you needed me, but you were getting overwhelming for us. How can you say that? I am your mother. You have to sell this house and move in with me. I had to act like a worthless, disabled person to gain your attention. I deserve something for going through this nonsense." "You are not entitled to this house, Melissa," Larry said, his voice cold. "You should be grateful we haven't kicked you out instantly." "Mom, you need to leave," Larry said, his voice filled with anger. "I don't want to see your face right now. I need to be away from you." Melissa kept crying and screaming that Larry was abandoning her again. However, this time Larry wasn't giving in to her. Next, she started to attack me verbally. The insults she threw at me were vile. She even brought up my dead parents to insult me. Larry had enough and threatened to call the police if she didn't leave. She went back to her house but kept calling Larry repeatedly. Larry and I had some serious talks, and he apologized for being so naive about his mom. We discussed her awful behavior and decided that it was time for no contact. Even his siblings and Billy were horrified by what happened. They were also contemplating making no contact with her. Melissa kept pestering us with calls for months. However, for now, she has gotten the hint that she is staying away. We might consider establishing a relationship if she gets therapy and tries to be better, but for now, she is staying far away from us. After experiencing the full journey of our story, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How did the story resonate with you? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay blessed. Thank you for watching and see you in the next story.